What's going on YouTube? So there are a few vehicles that almost everybody has experience with, but the Toyota Camry is one of them. It has long been the best-selling midsize sedan and one of the best-selling vehicles in America, period. And now today we're with the all-new 9th generation model, which is making one of the biggest changes in the Camry's history by switching to a hybrid powertrain exclusively. So is this the best Camry yet? And how does it stack up against the Honda Accord? Well, let's go ahead and take a detailed first look to find out. Now, before we talk about the powertrain changes, I want to go ahead and start off this video by talking about the exterior design, and specifically here in the front where you're going to see the biggest difference from the outgoing generation. You're going to notice that we have a very Prius-inspired design. We have that similar shape up here in the front, and specifically in the way that the grille is shaped. We have this small top part of the grille, and then you have the large lower grille, which is going to come in a variety of finishes. So that you're going to have the same 4 trim levels for 2025. This is the XSE, and this is going to have a body color mesh for the most sporty look. Over here on my right side, we have the XLE, which is going to have a more traditional look for a little bit more of a conservative buyer. Now, let's kind of dig into the headlights. This is something I really like because Toyota's giving you standard LED projector headlights on every single trim level. Now, we have the up-level unit here in terms of the other parts of lighting. So we have an amber parking light, and this is also your daytime running light with that very Prius-like shape. Overall, very premium looking lighting on board. Now, of course, through the different trim levels, you have different wheels starting at 16, moving to 18, and finishing up here with the XSE's 19-inch alloy wheels. I love the way these look. It's a brand new design this year, and we have a nice gray and black contrast finish. As we move over here to the mirrors, this is a noteworthy feature I want to point out. Blind spot monitoring is now standard equipment on every single trim level for 2025, and I like this gloss black finish we have.
Now here at the side of the all-new 2025 Toyota Camry, we don't have official measurements, so we don't know exactly how long this vehicle is. That will become available to us as we get a little bit later on in the production cycle. However, I do want to point out, just visually looking at this, it does have quite a few elements the same as the current generation Camry. In terms of the overall shape here, I think this does look pretty similar to the current gen Camry, which I don't think is a bad thing because the current one looks phenomenal. Now, I also want to point out that we do have a 2-tone roof option on the Camry, and that is another element that really makes this very sporty and stand out in the midsize sedan segment. Now, moving around to the rear design, we're going to have an all-new look back here, and I love the way it looks, especially here in person. I honestly think it has a little bit of a Lexus ES-inspired design. You have a lot of premium elements going on back here, and for the XSE, you're going to have a lot of sporty elements as well. We have a blacked-out spoiler up top, and then this piece in between the taillights is also going to be fully blacked out, including the Camry branding. Speaking of the taillights themselves, these are going to be full LED taillights. You once again have that similar Prius-like shape, full LED, which is very nice. And then down here in the lower area, you will notice that we're only going to have exposed exhaust outlets here on the left side, so no more quad exhaust outlets on the Camry, and that's because of that hybrid-only powertrain, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Now, as far as your safety systems are concerned, you will continue to get all 4 of them as standard equipment for the all-new 2025 Camry, which certainly is very nice, especially if you're looking on the lower end of the Camry lineup. But guys, that's going to wrap up the exterior design. There's a ton to show you on the inside. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, so now I went ahead and climbed inside of the Camry here. We switched from the XSE, where we were looking on the exterior, and we moved into the XLE for the interior because this is the most luxurious of the trim levels. You have a few more luxury touches, although on the XSE you can get a red interior, which is something I really like. But as far as the overall interior is concerned, let's kind of start with that. Just like with the exterior, you're going to notice some familiar elements mixed in with a lot of new stuff, particularly in regard to technology and particularly in regard to materials. So let's go into that. Over here on the door trim, you'll notice we have leather on that part. We have this cool quilted fabric, which is going to actually run from the center of the door trim, kind of cascade up through here, and that's going to continue all through the entire middle part of the dash. We have this cool vent effect, which is going to integrate into the display itself. This is going to come down, and then we're going to have some padded materials through here. This part is going to be hard touch, and then we have a gloss black finish going through the center section. But I'm going to go ahead and fire up the electronics. Of course, I can't fully fire it up because we are inside a building right now. But as that boots up, I think it's a great time to go ahead and get into some of the technology enhancements, because this is very obvious a huge enhancement over the current model, because we have a 12.3-inch full digital gauge cluster. Like other Toyotas, this is a very high-end looking display, great graphics. You're going to get this on your X trim levels, and you'll have a upgraded 7-inch display on your lower trim levels for 2025. We also do have an available head-up display, which is something that a lot of the competition still doesn't have available. As we pull back to the steering wheel, this is an updated Toyota design with the kind of new spoke look and these piano black finish here on the buttons. And as far as the wheel, it is going to be manual tilt and telescoping with rain sensing wipers. Now, as far as some of the familiar elements, you'll notice that kind of here in the center section. This shifter is going to be a little bit familiar to you guys. In terms of that from the previous generation. We do have a similar storage situation, which is a great thing because check out how huge this is for a midsize sedan. This part fully redesigned, so we have the cup holders flowing into a large panel, and we have standard wireless phone charging pad on every single model. Only the top end Accord is going to give you that. Let's come up to our climate controls next. We have a nice arrangement here, very simple to use because we have fully physical buttons and knobs. 12.3-inch display as well with the latest Toyota infotainment system on board. And then if you choose one of the high-end X trims, this is also going to get you the JBL sound system. Obviously, we're on too big of a time crunch to give you guys a demonstration of that. Now, I do also want to point out that we have 3-stage heated seats. We also retain the optional 3-stage ventilated seats. That's a very cool feature for the class. And up top here, we do have an auto-dimming mirror with our HomeLink remote. Lastly, wrapping up the interior, we have a large panoramic sunroof. This is optional on your top trim levels, and again, is something that a lot of the competition is not offering.
Now, as far as this rear area is concerned, I don't have official legroom figures. However, just sitting back here, we actually reviewed a 2024 Camry not long ago. I think it feels very similar in terms of overall size. About 38 inches of leg and headroom is what the current gen is rated for, and I think that's going to pretty much remain the same for this 2025 model. We're also going to have rear vents here in the center, 2 charging USB ports. I do not see a button for heated rear seats, and I think that will continue to not be offered on the all-new Camry. Now, as far as the cargo area is concerned, the trunk is not fully functioning on this particular model, so we can't show you what that looks like. However, the current generation Camry is rated at about 15 cubic feet, and we do expect that to continue for this 2025 model.
But let's get into the powertrain section, because this is probably the most big change from the previous generation, and it is also one of the more controversial changes. So with this new Camry, we've now moved to a hybrid-only powertrain arrangement. So that means your traditional 2.5-liter 4-cylinder as well as that 3.5-liter V6 are both going to be gone for 2025. In its place, you now have the 5th-generation hybrid system. That's going to make 2 different power outputs from a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine with electric motors. If you choose front-wheel drive, it'll have 225 horsepower. If you choose all-wheel drive, it'll have 232 horsepower. I will say both of those numbers are going to be greater than what you get in the Honda Accord hybrid, which of course is this model's chief competitor. Now, in terms of transmissions, you're going to have an eCVT that's going to replace the 8-speed automatic transmission that you could get on the traditional gas powertrains previously. And for fuel economy, we would expect, obviously we don't have any official ratings yet, but we would expect that this is going to get pretty good fuel economy ranging between 47 and 52 miles per gallon, just like the previous generation.
And you're probably curious as to when this vehicle is going to go on sale and how much might it cost. Well, Toyota has not released official pricing information. However, we do expect a very similar price point to the current generation Camry, plus a little bit more. So we're thinking around $28,000 as a starting point and a little over $40,000 fully loaded up for this 2025 model. As far as when this vehicle goes on sale, that will be spring of 2024, so not much longer if you want to wait for one of these new Camrys. And of course, we will be covering a lot more Camrys on the channel in detail, so please hit that subscribe button down below to stay up to date. And that's going to be where we leave off on this in-depth first look review of the all-new 2025 Toyota Camry. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support because you do make this all possible. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.